just a few things to address at the top of this video. I make so many allusions to the fact that this July reading wrap up is going sometime soon. And I'm aware it didn't. Unfortunately, some of us have chronic medical conditions and they rear their ugly heads at very inopportune times. Mine did in August, hence the delay. I really kind of went radio silent about it because with these flare-ups, I'm never sure how long they're going to last, so I didn't want to tell you guys I was taking a certain amount of time off uploading and then I had to extend it. I equally didn't want to tell you guys not to expect a video for so long and then make it shorter. Just a hard thing to predict. That's the reasoning for it. Please enjoy my July read still, and I thank you so much for clicking on this video. I actually had an incredible summer of reading, so I'm so excited to show you guys my August reads as well, which will be coming soon. I'm feeling a lot better, so hopefully that is the next video you see. And I've done some fun filming bits in between because I have really wanted to get back to this. I really missed it while I couldn't do my YouTube videos, so I'm kind of hoping you guys missed them too. But again, feeling better now, feeling back on track. We'll try to communicate that better in future. Probably going to make a video explaining what was going on as well, just to have a point of reference for if I have another flare up and I'm in my uploading era. You guys can just refer back to that. Sorry, last thing I need to address. This video, you would think I'd filmed it in a cave towards the latter half of it, and I'm really sorry about that. I will be putting a light of some description on my Christmas list because I did not realise how much it affects the quality, and now I'm aware it is a priority. I will try and sort out a lighting situation sometime soon. I hope that's everything. Thanks again for clicking on this. Love you guys so much. See you next Wednesday, all being well. But if it's not, I will try to update you. Let's work on healthy communication. Okay, enjoy the video. Here are my July reads.
Guys, me when it's Tuesday at 8:38 p.m. and this video needs to be up in 12 hours. It won't be up in 12 hours. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert to you watching this after 8:38 a.m. on Wednesday. It's not up. Guys, welcome back. Let's talk about our July reads. Unsure if we're going to keep that intro. I'm losing the light. I'm losing the light rapidly. Let's go. So, great intentions for this video was going to have it every time I finished a book, I was immediately going to film my reading wrap up. And then I quickly remembered I get social anxiety whenever I'm in a public space trying to record myself, even just on my phone. Wish I could go back into the mindset of 16, 17-year-old Victoria that felt like everyone desperately wanted to know every single thought that she had in her head. Wish I could go back to her mindset because she did not care if you didn't want to hear it. She let you know what she was thinking, and she did it publicly on a Snapchat story. So really gonna need to start channeling that again. I also just assumed all of that fear would go away whenever I was in Turkey because no one knows me there. It didn't. Turns out that's just a shared human experience. It doesn't really matter that you're vlogging in English and everyone around you probably doesn't care that much. I have my Deep End and my Night in the Moth book reviews filmed, so those are going to be sprinkled in here. Actually, maybe they'll both go here, and then we'll talk about all the other books we read in Northern Ireland. Not in Northern Ireland, but we'll talk about them. You get it. Anyway, cut to a less socially anxious Victoria. Cut to a Victoria that had vision. Cut to a Victoria that wanted to execute a plan and was actually trying to. Because this one, she's let the team down. That one, she's cool. Go listen to her. Okay, I'll see you in a second. Coming to you from Kushirasi to tell you about the first book I finished on holiday, The Night in the Moth. Your current tripod is a book that I have open, so if you could fuck off and stop flapping in the wind, that would do wonders for my mood, actually. This was meant to be a whole reading vlog, but I actually got so sucked into the story I couldn't make it a whole reading vlog. So annoying of me. Fuck off for the love of fuck, I mean it. I started this on the bus from Belfast to Dublin to get our flight. Finished it. I think I finished it within 24 hours. I did stay up late to finish it that first night because I just wanted to see how it ended. For those of you that aren't as familiar with the storyline as I would be now that I finished it, or with book talk in general, this is getting a lot of hype at the minute. It's a fantasy book based in a land where there are 6 omens or godlike figures that can provide a fate or a reading for the general public, but these like tellings, fortune tellings type vibe are interpreted by these 6 women in the society called diviners. These 6 diviners, and they are such named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We follow 6's point of view for this story. She quite literally draws the short straw and has to do a reading for the king. So the 6 diviners are standing on the wall that separates their castle from their cathedral from the rest of the land, and the diviners are not allowed to leave past the wall. They have to do everything that their abbess says to do. They do chores around the cathedral to like earn their keep, as well as the tellings. And the way that they go about receiving these messages from the omens is they literally have to drown themselves in a holy spring that is based at their cathedral. So it's not an easy task. It's not a task anyone particularly likes doing, and 6 ends up doing it for the king. Whenever she goes under, she receives bad omens from all 5 of the gods that she's meant to be contacting. Each of them usually gives a yes or a no, a good or bad type response to whoever is looking for a fortune, and every single one gives the king a bad one. Sybil, while she's drowning in a spring, tells all this to her abbess. Her abbess then tells the king this, and he seems pretty fine with the news. He and 2 of his main knights, called Maud and Rory, are fairly unaffected by this, and Rory and 6 end up running into each other in the cathedral later on that night, and he kind of makes fun of her for only ever staying at the cathedral. She doesn't know the rest of the land that they're from. Those knights have been travelling all over the land with the king. They're very familiar with the customs that happen outside of the wall, and he very much highlights to her that she has never known life outside of the wall and will never know it effectively. Diviners are only meant to be in service for 10 years, and she's coming to the end of her 10 years, and she realises she doesn't want to go into life outside of the wall without ever experiencing it. And so she convinces the knights to take her and the other 5 diviners out for a night on the town, for a night at the fair, and chaos pretty much ensues from there, because after that one night, diviners start going missing from their bedchamber that they all share. In the middle of the night, somehow they manage to all get taken. And on the final night, whenever 6 is due to be taken, Rory ends up showing up and saving her, as well as a gargoyle that works at the cathedral called Bartholomew. Love Bartholomew, and the adventure really goes from there. I was trying not to give too much of the story away, because I didn't go into this book with much prior knowledge of the story. You guys know I hate doing that, actually, so I hate having knowledge going into a book. It pretty much goes from there. I've left out some details because they lead into other things throughout the book. If you've read the book, then you know. If you know, you know. It is a hardcover, because also, as you guys know, I don't love a hardcover, but realizing hardcovers are actually far superior for a holiday where the average temperature is going to be 35 degrees, because all of my books are melting in the sun. They are actually allergic to the sun. So that's good for me. For me, that's good. I'm going to have to make the switch to Kindle pretty soon, I think. Now, obviously, because it's a fantasy book getting a lot of hype on TikTok, there is a romance element to it. And I did like that, but honestly, my main highs from this book were Bartholomew, finding out all the lore that surrounds that. Also, the diviners have a shroud that covers their eyes. For 90% of the book, I was like, let me know what's behind the shroud, let me know what your eyes look like. Just so many of those plot points that kind of kept me intrigued enough. I wish I hadn't been right in predicting. There's also another major twist in the last chapter of the book, much as any fantasy book on TikTok would have. And again, I saw it coming. I did enjoy this book, I think, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think that's my final rating. Anyway, that's the end of the 9th month. I've been talking for 13 minutes, and I plan on reading many, many more books in July, so that's this one done. So I am coming at you retrospectively to talk about Deep End, but it's because my mum wanted to read it. I don't want to talk about the implications of that, but she's finally finished with it. I enjoyed. It's not my favourite Ellie Hazelwood. My favourite Ellie Hazelwood is famously her young adult book, Checkmate. I think it's where she peaked. And I'm sorry about the light balance, but I just thought it would be best to talk about Deep End beside the pool while I had a pool at my disposal, because Deep End centres around Scarlett Vandermeer, or Vandy as everyone calls her, everyone except for the male main character, obviously. She is a diver at college and she's on a team with all girls. She kind of is like a wallflower, keeps to herself, doesn't overly socialise with any other college students. She's not giving your typical college girl experience. One of her teammates, Penelope, is going out with a guy called Lucas. He is a Swedish swimmer on the swim team at college, Olympian gold medal winner, all-round hotshot athlete. And Scarlett ends up stumbling upon Penelope and Lucas discussing breaking up. And these are student athletes, so they're 21 and they've been together since they were 16. Very much a golden couple of marine sports, I suppose. And yeah, they're breaking up, but they want to kind of keep it a secret, and they definitely don't want to tell anyone the reason for their breakup, which is, it's not solely this, but at the time it's staged as very much Lucas wants to explore kinks that Penelope's not really interested in exploring, and it's kind of brought that side of their relationship to a stalemate of sorts. And both of them have just been carrying on with this lingering over them for a while because they don't know how everyone else would react to their breakup. So they do break up, but Scarlett is the only one that knows they've broke up, and they very much keep it to themselves. They don't want Scarlett to tell anyone. But whenever Scarlett finds out the cause of this, she and Penelope talk about it because she's had a similar breakup because boyfriends or guys she's dated in the past have not wanted to explore kinks. But Penelope is like, OMG, you guys should date, and then I'll feel less bad about breaking up with Lucas, and like, you guys are all my friends, so it won't be weird. Sorry, she doesn't actually say you should date, she says you guys should explore that side of things together. And long story short, the story follows them doing just that. It's a bit off campus meets 50 Shades to liken it to any type of mashup. I really enjoyed actually seeing their dynamic with the swimming / diving element of it all. Scarlett in the story as well is dealing with a mental block, or the twisties as some athletes would call it, and Lucas helps her kind of try to work through that. He works through issues of his own. I did enjoy the book. The only thing is Scarlett does not have a very good relationship with her dad, and I know that usually in stories like this it's very much a cliche to give the female main character a bad relationship with their parents, because that then reflects in their choices in these situations afterwards. And yeah, I think it would have been more refreshing actually for the female main character who's had a good relationship with her family, but it was enjoyable. I think I give it 3.8 stars. People are going to want to start coming to the pool and I'm monopolising it by filming a review. I did enjoy it, and I'd recommend it. Anyone else looking at, I don't know, kinky summer read? That was a good one. Guys, the first book I read in July. Let me just get it straight down from my favourite shelf. It's My Friends by Frederick Backman. I cannot tell you guys, this book, I finished it. I closed the cover. I got out my phone. I took a picture of the cover sitting on my bed, and I immediately started writing the review that's on my Instagram. I loved it. I've never felt the need to tell other people about a book overwhelm me as much as it did with this book this year. Obviously it's happened before. It's happened with another very famous book he's read called Beartown that none of my friends will read to share in the misery with. That's a lie. Hannah's read it. Love you. My Friends by Frederick Backman is a story about everything. Guys, Frederick Backman does this. He writes a story that is about one thing on the surface, and it's about many other things going on in the background. The broad premise of this story follows a girl called Louisa. Follows a girl called Louisa, and she sneaks into an art gallery to deface a painting that she has resonated with all of her life. She had a really troubled life. She's been in care, she's been in abusive situations before, and she just really resonates with this painting because it is on a postcard she's had for the majority of her life. She goes with the intention of defacing it, and as soon as she sees it in person, she realises she never came with the intention of defacing it. She just needed to see it in person. She is so captivated by this picture. It's called The One with the Sea, and it features 3 boys sitting at the end of a dock, and this wide blue ocean is just sitting in front of them. She's so moved by it, captivated by it. Delays her defacing plan long enough to get caught by security with a bag full of spray paint and gets thrown out of the museum. And then it cuts to a couple different timelines I guess, but it cuts from the timeline of what happens to her after she's thrown out of this art gallery to the story of the 3 boys that are in the painting and what went down the summer that the artist painted that painting. It talks about the dynamics of their friendship. I don't even want to tell you guys too much because I think with any Frederick Backman book, the less information you have going into it, the better. He's just such an incredible storyteller. I love this book so much. I sobbed. In fact, I have a video of me crying after it because obviously in my mid-year freak out, I was like, I haven't actually read any books yet, but I do think I'll cry at this one. Let me show you me crying at this one. I'll let that play. Maybe I'll put it on the screen here actually so it's less embarrassing and you aren't just cutting to a video of me crying. But just know, I say crying, I was sobbing. I was sobbing my heart out. I think it's such a beautiful story of friendship, of nostalgia. It's such a beautiful story of friendship, of nostalgia, of love, found family love, and then hardships that come alongside all of that. Obviously our main character has a really troubled start in life. Some of the boys in that story do too. If you know Frederick Backman's work, you'll know that it's devastatingly gorgeous, beautiful. Chef's kiss isn't enough, chef's nog. I loved it. I'd recommend it to anyone. I say I'd recommend it to anyone. If you read it and you don't like it, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm so tempted to recommend it for book club, for my book club, but if people don't like it, or if I have to sit through a meeting of people not liking it, actively not liking it, I don't know what I'll do. So that's book one. We set off on a high, and then the next book I read was A Night in the Moth. You guys have seen what I thought about that. You saw that really well put together, eloquent clip of what I thought about that. And then the book after that was Deep End. Again, you guys know the story. You guys know what I thought about all those characters. I'm not struggling to remember right now. No, I'm not. I like that book too. That was good. Then the third book I read on holiday was Rebecca. I was on a roll with my reading this month, and then Rebecca, it came and it actually just took the train right off of the tracks actually, and I spent the next maybe week trying to put the train back on the tracks. That book, the issue is, I really liked it. I'd recommend it. It was a very good classic. It was a really good book, really enjoyable. A great book for a book club. The discussions we had at book club on Monday there were so good. We were able to link it back to modern day life so well. We were able to really dissect it, really sink our teeth into it. The first 150, 200 pages, I could have done without. Sounds so stupid to say. Really enjoyed this book. What a waste of time those first couple hundred pages were. There are two audiobooks of it. There's an unabridged, which is around 8 hours, and there's an abridged version, which is 3 hours. And I think if you can cut out 5 hours worth of storytelling, it's not that necessary. I understand abridged versions cut out a lot more than that, and that's what makes them shorter, but that is a drastic change. And I think you could get a lot from just reading the abridged version. Rebecca follows... Sorry, I'm actually still a bit emotional from my friends, but I need to go over that. Rebecca follows... a bloody loser? No. Rebecca follows the story of a young child girl being essentially groomed. No. I'm letting my bias show. It follows a young girl who we never learn the name of. She marries a widowed man who is well known for being extravagantly wealthy because he owns this gorgeous estate in Cornwall called Manderley. And this place is famous. We're talking Mount Stewart National Trust House famous, maybe a bit niche. We're talking White House, or maybe not. We're talking White House famous, I think actually. Very well known, beloved estate in Cornwall. He previously lived there with his first wife, Rebecca. She's died, and I was quite sad about it. I would have loved to have met Rebecca, but she's died. Maxim, that's his name, sorry, Maxim, then marries this young girl that we meet at the start of the story, and the very first chapter is them looking back at when they first met to when they went to live at Manderley, and basically everything that's changed since then. The story then follows this newlywed couple going and living at Manderley with all of the same staff that Rebecca had whenever she lived there, and having the exact same routine in a day that Rebecca had whenever she lived there, entertaining the same guests that Rebecca had whenever she lived there. Rebecca is very much haunting this narrative, not in a ghost, nearly headless Nick type of way, but in a very much Rebecca is living rent-free in our female main character's head. She is everything she does, she compares to how Rebecca probably did it. Anytime anyone looks at her, she's wondering if they're thinking, do they not understand like why Maximus married me compared to Rebecca, because Rebecca was so amazing. Rebecca is the third word out of this lady's lips. In her inner monologue, it's Rebecca, Rebecca, Rebecca. It's not helped by the fact that there's obviously an old lady maid that is like, the first Mrs. De Winters was actually incredible and I hate your guts. She maybe doesn't directly say that, but it's very much implied. This new wife is therefore navigating life in this new house, in a new social status that she's never had to experience before. It's quite an uncomfortable read because you can feel through the pages how jarring this whole experience is compared to what she is previously used to. I personally did not like our male main character. I would love to have more discussions about this book. It wasn't necessarily a mixed bag at book club, but it was, everyone had enough diverse thoughts that it made the conversation really good. I'm actually going to book club again on Wednesday because I'm obsessed. It'll be really fun to see if anyone has any more different opinions. I think those types of books are the best ones to recommend at book club because so many people will have different opinions on the characters they did like, the characters they didn't like. Certain books, whenever they have twists like Rebecca does, because it does have a twist, has a couple twists, and people react to those differently. And I even think with classics, the fact that the story is somewhat well known but not incredibly well known means you're trying to guess at what the story is going to produce and you aren't really able to as well. I was pleasantly surprised with it. Oh, have I given my ratings for a single book so far? My Friends, obviously gets a 5-star. No question. 6-star. 6 out of 5. I'm hoping I've rated the other 2 books, but if I haven't, they will be on the screen now. Rebecca, I think I give a 3.75/4 because for how gripped I was in this last third of the book, it really did make up for a lot of the slog in the first half, quarter, third of the book. I'd recommend it. I'm happy I've read it. And I'll be clued in to have discussions with people whenever they want to talk about it. Oh, I went out of order. I forgot I read The Wedding People by Alison Espach. I was going to talk about this one in Izmir Airport because I was meant to have plenty of time in Izmir Airport and I didn't. We all know why. We watched the vlog. By the way, I came home, made Macaulay watch that vlog because support your sister maybe and her book tube. He saw it was 42 minutes. He was like, why didn't you split this? I had to explain the point was to split it. It was meant to be 2 separate videos. I got my dates mixed up, He gave me a good chastising for it. So in case you guys didn't and you were being polite about it, don't worry, I got it whenever I got home. The Wedding People by Alison Espach. This book follows Phoebe, our main character, who goes and checks in to the fanciest hotel you've ever been to in your life. Think the Galgorm, if the Galgorm was actually worth the money. She goes and stays at this gorgeous, gorgeous hotel. She walks in, it's so decadent. The clientele are a bit kooky and odd, but she's like, whatever, live and let live. JK, except for me being Phoebe, because I'm here to kill myself. She's checking in to the hotel in this story to have one last night of pure opulence, great time, la vida loca, before she kills herself. I am not making light of suicide. You guys already know that. It's just such a jarring start to the book. She checks into this hotel. She's looking at all the guests like, oh, everyone here is crazy. And then she realizes everyone in this hotel is here for a wedding. Cool. Great. Happy for you guys. I was married once. It turned to shit. She's very jaded. She's a complex character. And the bride eventually comes in and is like, oh, gift bag for you, thank you so much for traveling all this way. Sees Phoebe, says, gift bag for you, thank you so much for traveling all this way, hope you have the best time here. Phoebe's like, and then Phoebe goes over to her elevator. The bride realizes she's left something up in her room or she needs to get changed for something, the dinner they're about to have, and says to Phoebe, hold the elevator. So Phoebe does what everyone would do in that situation and presses for the elevator doors to close. The bride gets in and is like, I asked you to hold the elevator. And Phoebe's like, sorry, my finger, it slipped. They get talking in the elevator. The bride's like, so are you on the groom's side of the family? Phoebe's like, nope. The bride's like, are you on my side of the family? Phoebe's like, nope. The bride says, why are you here then? And Phoebe, who has decided she doesn't care about pretenses surrounding weddings anymore and keeping the bride protected in like bridal bubble wrap and protecting her feelings for the week of her wedding. Phoebe, who actually decides a week is too much to celebrate your wedding and she's just going to say it how it is, tells the bride that she's actually here to kill herself. And the bride freaks out. She's like, you can't kill yourself. This is my wedding. Phoebe says, your wedding's actually not till Saturday. They have a big argument about it. I don't know why I'm relaying their exact dialogue to you guys. You should read the book. But the bride finds out. The bride goes to Phoebe's room, is like, don't kill yourself. If anyone should be killing themselves, it's me. Here's all the family drama that's going down at this wedding. Here's all the people that don't even like each other that have come to this wedding. Da 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 da. They're standing on the balcony looking down at everyone. The bride, I know the bride's name, but it's nice to call her the bride. It's actually quite cool because at the start of the book, Phoebe refers to everyone as like, she obviously hasn't been introduced to anyone, so she refers to them as their characteristics. So the bride just gets called the bride until she gets humanized in Phoebe's eyes, and then she gets her name. I think it might be Natasha. But anyway, she's telling her all the struggle she's having with the wedding. She's begging Phoebe not to kill herself. Phoebe's like, it's what I want to do. Sorry. I think they even get to a stand up. The bride says, this is the most important day of my life. And Phoebe says, yeah, me too. It's a lot of dark humour, but it's very well done. Book then follows the whole week of this wedding and all of the family dynamics that are going on with the bride, and obviously more about Phoebe's story gets revealed. It's a really good book. I don't want to go into too much detail because I really do think the less information you have going into a book, the better you enjoy it. Da 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 da. How many times can I say it? I'd recommend it to anyone wanting an unconventional summer read where there's a bit of grit and a bit of uncomfortability to the story, but something you can still read beside a pill, like I did. I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. Would really recommend it to anyone that is nosy, to be honest, because I heard the premise of that book and I said, right, well, then what happens? And that is exactly how I felt when I was reading the whole thing. So I'd really recommend it. Guys, and then I read 2 audiobooks. So the first audiobook I actually started before I went away to holiday. It's called The Murder After the Night Before. It follows a journalist called Molly Malone who wakes up after the night of her Christmas party and revenge porn, including her, has been posted all over the internet. So that's good. That's good for her. She doesn't realise because her phone is dead because she was out partying. She wakes up late, goes straight to the office. Everyone at work is looking at her like, what are you doing here? Have you seen Twitter? Have you seen any social media at all? By the time she sees it, she reacts exactly how you'd expect and has effectively a breakdown. She is excused from work and sent home, deal with this however way she can, and she is just so distraught. She goes home, starts to charge her phone, and is wondering where her best friend and flatmate is so they can talk about it. Her name's Polly. And then she discovers that her flatmate is dead and appears to have accidentally drowned in the bath. Molly, it's not Molly and Polly, so I don't know what her flatmate's name is, but Molly is very much aware that her flatmate has been murdered because there's no way that this would happen. She understands how likely the accidents happen, but she knows this isn't what happened, and she thinks her flatmate has been murdered. And the story goes from there. Molly trying to deal with that scandal that's going on in her, and also with the death of her flatmate and trying to figure out what happened there. It was a very easy mystery thriller to go through. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I was kept guessing on a lot of points, and I think the characters that were all introduced all could have had a motive, and it's really nice to read a book like that where your opinion of who could have released this video or who could have killed her flatmate, if her flatmate was even killed, is revealed. I really enjoyed reading about all of that. I really enjoyed listening to all of that. It's really well done. It's a really well done audiobook. It's written by Katie Brent, who also wrote the How to Kill Men and Get Away with It series. I also really enjoyed, and it's available on Libby, so you can listen to it for free with your NI library card, with your library card in general, probably. I don't know why I'm being so Northern Ireland specific in this video, but in case you didn't know, I'm from the north of Ireland. Yeah, really enjoyable book. I think it's set around Christmas, so maybe more of a winter read, but I don't overly seasonally divide up my books, my reads, but that is whenever that one's set, in case you do that. The last audiobook I listened to is Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. This is a non-fiction book told by Sarah as it recounts her time being employed at Facebook, or Meta, that it is now known as. She tells us about her employment history and how she used to work for the UN, and she saw how Facebook was back. This is back in around 2006, how Facebook could be geared to be used in political climates as well as just a social media. She saw all of that happening for Facebook and contacted the company to get a job there because she wanted to be involved in that. She wanted them to create a role so she could do that. It's quite a long-winded story of how she gets there, but she eventually does start a Facebook, and she really works there from when it seems to be a very much based out of an apartment complex to what it became in Silicon Valley. It talks about some of the insane expectations she had while she worked there, and although she is what seems to be a whistleblower type character, having published this book, although she does appear to be in that situation, I kind of did read it with a pinch of salt, because she worked at Facebook for a significantly long time, and I don't know how long you can really work at a company and keep your head in the sand about all of the devious, nefarious, some might say, allegedly, activities that are going on in that business. But obviously, in leaving that job, as a woman with a medical condition that's requiring a lot of treatment, and she's based in America where she needs health insurance, you can also really sympathise with her plight of why she needs to stay in a job and why she can't leave this job until she has another one lined up. And it just talks about some of these situations, some of the situations she was in, and it feels so surreal because she is referring to a mark in these situations, and it's Mark Zuckerberg. She makes it clear it's Mark Zuckerberg. She doesn't just call him Mark, and we assume. And one story that sticks out to me is whenever Facebook was looking to expand into Asia, and there was going to need to be a senior management team that went out to fly to the country where warrants for their arrests was actually issued. They were sitting in a meeting trying to decide who was going to go out and act as the guinea pig for this, because obviously if this person landed and was immediately arrested, then the actual senior management team, Mark Zuckerberg, etc., should not make the journey because they will be arrested. And everyone in the room is kind of making their excuses about why they can't be the one to go out. Sarah is jotting all this down, just kind of listening along quite passively, and she looks up and sees all of these faces just staring back at her, and she says she has the realization that it's expected that she's going to be the guinea pig, she's going to be the one to fly and see if she gets arrested or if it's safe for the rest of the team to come over or not. Just really wild situations. The things they expected her to do while she was on maternity leave, while she was postpartum, while she was dealing with her ill health. Really unfortunate situations again, and you can completely sympathise with some of the plight in this book. But again, a slight pinch of salt just for old time's sakes, just for the nuance of it all. It goes into discussions about China, about Facebook's expansion into China, about Facebook's algorithms and how they have literal tools that will target young users, teenage users, and identify when these children are feeling insecure, vulnerable, depressed, sad, upset, shamed, and it will target ads towards them. They talk about algorithms that will notice a teenage girl deleting a selfie. Oh, she must feel ugly. She'll get a skinny tea advert targeted at her. It's so nefarious to think about. And as I was reading it, I was feeling so conflicted, obviously, about my own stance on social media and how I love posting an Instagram photo dump. I love recording my thoughts and putting them on the internet here for anyone to see. It's just all a bit scary. It made me think about my actual life on the internet a lot more than I probably did previously, and I'd really recommend it. It felt like I was watching, because it was a non-fiction, it also felt like a reality show. You know, whenever you watch Real Housewives of somewhere, and then, or better example, when watching Vanderpump Rules and finding out that Tom Sandoval cheated on Ariana Madix, and getting the real life news of this, and then getting the reality TV show, and it just felt like more information was coming and coming and coming. That's how reading this book felt, but about a massive organisation that has essentially everyone's information on tap, and they don't believe in storing or using it responsibly. Allegedly they don't. From the vibe in this book, they don't seem to, but who am I to say for sure? It was such an interesting book. I'd really recommend it. I'd recommend it even if you don't think you're interested in the social media zeitgeist sphere, metaverse, so to speak, because although I obviously do have an interest in it, I didn't think I would have as big of an interest in it as I did. And it's always good to know what these big companies are doing with your personal information. Always good to keep that in mind in the back of your wee head. I didn't rate it because I don't really rate non-fiction books unless they absolutely blow me away. So there's no rating for that one. But that was my last audiobook. I'm currently in the middle of 2 books, and I'm actually going to make a poll right now to see if you guys are willing to wait for this video so I can include those 2 books, because I'm really enjoying them. I'm reading The Jazad Air, and I'm reading Cultish, which is another non-fiction book about cults and about the idea of cults, the language of cults, how people get involved in cults, even smart, learned, educated people get involved in cults. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying both, and I really want to include them in some reading wrap up. So I'm about to post a poll, and I'm going to just see what the consensus is in for about 5 minutes. If you see me again, it might be pitch black, but I guess I'll do my sign off, and hopefully you see me again and there's more light, because we have voted to delay the video for an extra 2 books. Gonna get a hoya. Hey! How y'all doing? What angle I am more into the frame because I feel like that will distract you guys from the fact that it's currently September 4th. Happy birthday, Beyonce. I know. I'm hoping I've done an explanation now about being off, so I'm just going to jump in to talking about Cultish and the Jasad Air. Guys, these two books are the reason you waited over a month for this video, but at the same time, they're worth it. 6 stars. You know what? Let me talk about them first. Cultish, I'm going to talk about first. It was a non-fiction book talking about the language that is associated with cults, and by that extension, what actually classifies a cult as a cult. It goes through many descriptions. There's a lot of surveys / market research that has been done with this book as well. So some people say a cult has to have nefarious intent. Some people have to say it has to have a religious aspect. Goes into a bunch of discussions like that. It compares MLMs, really famous exercise regimes like Barry's or Soul Cycle, or what's that orange one? Clockwork Orange, Orange Theory, whatever it is. Pilates. It talks about all of those things. It talks about Arbonne. It talks about Avon. It talks about all of those MLM marketing schemes. It talks about Herbalife. Then it goes into actual cults that we know about. It talks about Scientology. It talks about Heaven's Gate. It talks about all these schemes. It really breaks down what they had in common with each other. Breaks down the language they use and how it can be comparable across the board. It was so interesting. I listened to the audiobook because it's free on Libby. Go and give it a go. But I really want to buy a physical copy of the book because I enjoyed it so much. I do think I would reread it. And I really recommend it to anyone else that's looking at a non-fiction read. I'm actually on medication at the minute that make it impossible to sleep. So cheers. This is a cherry boost. I called it a cherry Red Bull. And my brother made me stop because I don't actually use Red Bull. Because I'm cheap. Delicious. I just find the book so interesting. It's broken up into parts more so than chapters. I think that might actually make it easier to read because you don't need to sit down and read it in a few sittings like a fiction book. You can literally just read, oh, chapter 1, okay, and now I can go read a fiction book and now I can come back to chapter 2. Whichever way makes you best absorb it. But I really enjoyed it and I really recommend it to anyone interested in cults. And then the last book I read in July was the Jasad Air. I was going to grab it, but Chris just finished reading it actually, so he has my copy. I love this book so much. I read it on Kindle. I went on eBay, Vinted, Depop, whatever I could go on to and looked for the Illimicrate exclusive edition because I wanted a beautiful edition to be the edition that was on my shelves. I got one. Thank you to whoever sold that to me. I love it so much. That book was incredible. How do I summarise it now that I've finished the series? Because I don't want to give any spoilers and I want to make sure I keep the books very separate. Because the Jasad Air, I gave 4 stars. The Jasad Crown, the second book in the series, I give all the stars in the world. I loved that book. It wrecked me and hurt my feelings at times, but I loved it. It was so good. But before we get to that, because that will be in my August reading wrap up, I'm going to see my dentist next week and he's going to be like, what happened to your teeth? I got addicted to cherry Red Bulls. The Jasad Air follows Sylvia, who is a girl on the run apprenticing at a herbalist / shop. Herbalist called Rory. We like him. We like Rory. And she lives in a house with other people that have nowhere to go. This woman takes children in and raises them and says once they reach a certain age they can either pursue an education or pursue a trade. She supports them through this. They all live in this house. That's where Sylvia lives. That's where she meets her best friends, Sepha and Marek. This village is called Maher. They basically go about Maher together. The country at large was split into sections and one of these sections was called Jasad, and the Jasadi people were all able to practice magic. And then the leader of this Jasad sect goes magic mad, power mad. Eventually society progresses that magic is outlawed and anyone suspected of being Jasadi is effectively sentenced to death. There's no fair trials for anyone that is from Jasad and practicing magic, and they're basically waiting for magic to die out. We learned pretty early on that our main character is from Jasad. Not only that, but as you can assume from the title, I wouldn't call this a spoiler, but if you're going to try and tell me that I'm spoiling a book by telling you that one of the main characters is hilariously the Jasad Air, then this isn't the channel for you. Because Sylvia's the Jasad Air. She was the next in line for the Jasad throne, but she can't practice her magic because Jasad was overruled and disbanded and torn apart basically whenever she was a child. In between then and now, when she's a young woman, she was abducted, she was tortured, she was trained, for lack of a better word, and she eventually was able to run from her captor and make her way to Maher, which is where she has lived out her life with the pseudonym Sylvia, and she's just trying to make an honest living for herself there. She doesn't want anyone to know she's Jasad. She's not interested in claiming her birthright. And then when some of the guards, the police force effectively, come to Maher and sentence a man that has been found to be a Jasadi to death, Sylvia performs Jasad funeral rites on this man's body, but in secret, hidden away from everyone, deep in the forest she does this. And she is overheard, she is found doing things that could sentence someone to death immediately, but luckily or unluckily for her,
you'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Dude, who asked you? She's overheard by the Prince of Nizal. Nizal is another sector that makes up the country, and it's probably the most powerful sector. Everyone kind of bows to Nizal's will, and the Prince of Nizal, Aaron, is actually commander of the armies, and he has a lot of influence over how the guardsmen are policing the countries, and he's done a lot to try and make it a more fair process for trying to find Jasadis. But that being said, he still very much believes that they all eventually go a bit part mad and can't be trusted. So Sylvia, therefore, does not trust him, and whenever he finds her in this predicament, she knows she's not done well for herself. She has messed up. But Aaron does not take her for questioning, doesn't do any of that. He actually chooses Sylvia to be his champion in upcoming trials that each sector of the country are getting involved in. And that is how the Jasad heir ends up in custody of the Nizalan prince. And guys, enemies, they couldn't be more enemies. They couldn't be stronger enemies. They couldn't be better enemies. And then they have to work together. And then they start to like each other. They might even fall for each other. But they have a big secret. Honestly, the romance subplot is very much a subplot, because see the intrigue, the political intrigue, the intrigue behind Mark and Sepha, who are Sylvia's friends, just the formation of the country in general, the conversation / storytelling around propaganda and how everyone believes what they're told to believe, and just because people have different beliefs doesn't make them bad or evil. Oh, it's all so good. It's such a good story to be reading considering the current climate the world is in. I loved it. The first book I did rate 4 stars, but see the second book, I wish I could read that second book for the first time again. Again, I don't want to talk about it too early because it was an August read, and I will be doing my August reads very soon. But if anyone is looking a fantasy, Egyptian inspired, enemies to lovers, political intrigue, historical but not in a boring way, book series, geology, that one, it's completed. It was incredible. I loved it so much. I think you guys will too. And that does bring us to the end of the July reads. I'm not going to apologize again because I'm sure I have done it prior, but thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you so soon with August reads. I'm trying my best to get cracking on my September reads. Guys, I'm up to date with my Goodreads goal. I'm actually ahead of my Goodreads goal currently, but because I've been trying to do this all again, I'm slowly losing that lead. So I'm going to try and working on that. I'm currently reading Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, so we're going to be getting a reading vlog of that. I'm going to try and lock in and read a lot of it today. But yeah, a lot to look forward to, so I hope you guys stick around. I love you so much. I'm not going to do this again because I'm sure I've said it a million times, but I'm sorry. And I'm back. And I'm healthy. And isn't that the best part of all? I think so. Okay. Bye guys. See you next week I hope, but if not, sorry. Okay, bye.